We wrap up our look at Heat exit interviews, including some interesting comments from Tyler Herro and his role in Miami, plus Kel'el Ware's offseason goals and Andrew Wiggins' future with the team on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. For daily content on the Heat, click that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you're following us on your podcast app. It's the offseason, but we're still going strong 5 days a week. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about what Kel'el Ware's plan is for the offseason. Is Andrew Wiggins here long term? And then we get to our listener poll about what y'all think the Heat should do this offseason and the path forward. But we talked yesterday about Heat exit interviews, Bam Adebayo's message to Pat Riley, Tyler Herro's contract, Davion Mitchell's contract, the team's offseason plan. But we didn't have time to get into some of the other things that Tyler said during his media session. I want to do that now, so I'm going to play a couple of sound bites here, and then we can react. It's about a minute and a half long. So here's what Tyler said.
No, I feel like personally the sky's the limit, and I haven't necessarily won how I wanted to win or would love to win in this league. But personally, coming into the season, I actually came in thinking like it was going to be probably my lowest usage rate. I was thinking I was going to average probably least of my career. And I came in ended up averaging 24, 25, having the best season of my career. But I really do think it was because I just came in thinking I was going to play off the ball. I was letting it come to me. I was letting Jimmy and at the time Terry was starting. I was going to let them kind of just handle, make all the plays. I would be off the ball and kind of, a glue guy a little bit in that starting unit. And it changed quick, and I was able to reap the benefits from it. I was an all-star. I made, the all-star team. I won the three-point contest. A lot of personal, positives that came out from this season, so I can't let the last two games define, my season. But also understanding that that's not what I want out of this league is, the personal growth is cool, but also knowing that I want to win and be known as a winner. And we have to do some things this summer to help put us back in that position so we can win.
So it's a few things there. David, what was most interesting to you?
The idea that he was going to come in and have a lower usage rate. I guess it makes sense to assume that maybe with Jimmy Butler on the team, Terry Rozier starting, Bam, and his increasing role, the expectation would be that Tyler would have a lesser one. But that really stood out to me in terms that he just didn't have any kind of clarification. So if you're looking at it, and I'm not sure to look at it positively or negatively, just rather kind of an indictment on the season, though, like it didn't seem like anybody had any real clarity about what was going to happen. Not just the Jimmy Butler situation and whether or not that could have been handled differently during the offseason, but even going into the season, it's like, who's manning the offense? Who's running? What kind of offense are we running? I mean, we talked about it in yesterday's episode that it started off as one thing and then quickly evolved into something completely different. And so it just seems like maybe there wasn't a clear sense of what this season was supposed to be like or how it was supposed to be played. And then it was just a constant evolution from there because you had Jimmy some nights, you didn't have Jimmy some nights, then you had Terry not playing to his role, Nico not playing to his role. So you lost two starters basically very quickly. It just was constantly changing and that you didn't really have a clear plan. And that's not a good look. And it's no surprise then that you don't win to the level that you want to win or that you're supposed to or expected to win. their expectation or understanding of what's going to be happening with the team.
So I agree with you and I disagree with you. I agree with the part where it just unraveled. And clearly whatever plan you had at the beginning of the season, that just went right in the recycling bin right away. Like basically for a couple of reasons. The Jimmy Butler reason may be the biggest one, but also the 5-out offense just didn't work for a lot of reasons. Terry Rozier did not work out as a starter. Nikola Jovic did not work out as a starter. He got benched. So it always felt a little bit like square peg, round hole not working for Miami. They wanted to be this kind of flashy Boston Celtics style 5-out offense, but they didn't have the personnel. I would disagree with you in saying, though, that there wasn't a plan, at least going forward. We can nitpick the plan and decide and debate whether the plan was the right plan or the wrong plan. I do think that there was a plan. And when Tyler Herro says, I came in thinking that I was going to be playing off the ball, more of a glue guy in the starting lineup, that to me reflects the plan. That was what he thought he was going to be doing. Terry Rozier and Jimmy Butler were going to be primary ball handlers, and Tyler Herro is going to be spacing off the ball, which is exactly what Spoelstra has been, and this coaching staff has been asking him to do for years. And by the way, rare occasion where what the player says at media day is actually true, because Tyler Herro said all of this at media day. He said, I'm going to play off the ball more, all these things. Remember, we reacted to that and be like, wow, what a 180 from Tyler Herro. I can't believe, like, he's saying all the right things. He's like, I just want to help the team win, and whatever they need me to do, if that means playing off the ball, I'll play off the ball. Like, he said all of that. But then Rozier couldn't figure out how to play basketball anymore, and Jimmy Butler decided he didn't want to be here anymore, and they're like, well, Tyler Herro's the only one who could dribble on the whole dang team, so you're the primary ball handler again. Sorry, buddy. And they worked it out. So when I hear this, I think that what sticks out to me is Tyler's maturity. It was, hey, this season did not go as planned. You were going to play a new role. And then the understanding to be like, and because I had embraced all these new things that were just more efficient ways of playing, I ended up having a career year, and at the same time learning what it was like to be a number one option in the playoffs and things like that. To have the career year and to make an all-star team and accomplish those personal goals that he was talking about, despite all of that crap we were just talking about.
Sure.
That to me is a sign of real maturity. But then I love the part too, where he's like, at the end of the day, we got to win. And then David, little kicker at the end, this offseason, we're going to do whatever we have to do to get back to winning.
Yeah.
Similar to Bam.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I was going to say. This idea of we, the inclusive we, in terms of this future of the team. And I don't know. There's a question about whether or not they can improve and what it's going to take in order for this team to improve. And I don't know that anybody has any clear idea of that. I would like for this team to be able to say, one more offseason without Tyler's name being included in trade talks. Last summer was the first one in his career, really, with the exception of the offseason in between the Orlando bubble that lasted 2 weeks at the start of the next season, when there really wasn't time to trade in Tyler, and he had just come off a strong rookie showing in the Orlando bubble, so that wasn't going to happen anyway. But, what's the path for this team to improve? And Tyler,
well, can I put a
part in it?
Can I put a pin in that? Because we're going to talk about that. I want one more question I want to ask you here. Do you think people are too hard on Tyler Herro? Because everybody knows where I stand. I'm the Tyler Herro apologist. I get it. Like, I know, and everybody knows, I think everybody's been too hard on Tyler Herro. This season, hearing what he's said at media day and then here, and the maturity I was talking about.
Yeah.
Do you think people are too hard on him?
Yeah. Yes and no. I feel like he's almost emblematic of, or symbolically representative of, the team's struggles, and in the sense that the team hasn't been able to get over the hump, and it wasn't Bam's fault last year. It wasn't Jimmy's fault. Not last year. Let's say the year that they went to the finals. It was Tyler being hurt, and Tyler perhaps not stepping up in the playoffs last year against the Boston Celtics. Again, albeit against a very good Celtics team, as much as it pains me to say that. But it always feels like Tyler has been part of the problem. And it's just, I think that when you look at what the team's future is, how can you win with Tyler as your number one option, which is exactly what he is on this team? And the answer is, well, you probably can't.
No.
I do echo your sentiment about his growth and maturity. Like, I feel like this is on a personal level And as a human level, this is probably Tyler's best season because he has embraced all that. And maybe it is the fact that his offseason was worry-free for the first time in his NBA career. But he really did say all the right things. He has always embraced whatever happened. He was always complimentary. Like you mentioned in yesterday's episode, the fact that a number of teammates shouted out not just Bam's leadership in the post-Jimmy era, but Tyler's leadership, which you probably wouldn't expect from as young a player as he is. So not only is he the team's on-court leader in terms of production, but he's also one of the off-court leaders too. And that's exactly representative of the kind of growth that you want to see from an all-star player on your roster. So I think he's growing in lots of ways, but I also think that a lot of fans view him as, well, he has a ceiling, and his ceiling is not superstar. And that being the case, that puts a ceiling on our team and how far they'll go. And yeah, I think that's where they view him, and he's part of the solution and part of the problem at the same time.
So he's not a number one option on a championship team.
Probably not.
He's not. But how many people are? It's like, so everybody's just going to be held to this standard? It's crazy. And when I bring that up, people are like, well, he said he wants to be in the conversation with Luka and Trae Young and all these things. I'm like, what is this guy supposed to say? Have you ever talked to a professional basketball player? Like, this is what they say. Orlando Robinson got on our podcast 2 years ago and said he thinks he's one of the best players in the league. And I'm not even saying that to make fun of Orlando Robinson. I'm just telling you, this is how basketball players are wired, bro. Yeah. Like, this is just what they say. Did he put his foot in his mouth a little bit? Sure. Yeah. But it was years ago, and who cares? Give it, like, let it go, people. It's absolutely wild to me that people keep bringing up this quote. It's crazy. Oh, and by the way, he outplayed Trae Young every time they shared the court this year. I'm just saying. He did.
Well, when you look at it, what has Trae accomplished? Like, why is Trae off the hook now? Because this is Tyler's first All-Star season. I mean, maybe he should shoot from 35 feet out more often.
So look, he can't be the number one option on a championship-winning team. That doesn't mean he stinks. It just means that I think he could be one of your top 3 players on a championship team. I really do. I think he is that efficient as a shooter, and if you have real defense behind him, because Kel'el Ware was a mess in the playoffs, then he doesn't look nearly as bad. He's not going to be a great defender, but it won't look that bad. And between him, if you have Bam, Tyler, and a guy who can average 27 points per game, I think everybody gets a lot less hard on Tyler Herro and a lot less hard on Bam Adebayo. But you've heard me talk about this before. We're going to move on. Kel'el Ware, he had some things to say in his exit interview, specifically what he is going to work on this summer. Hint, it's the same thing he was working on last summer. Also, Bam revealed what he thinks about Kel'el Ware and the big Andrew Wiggins question. We get to that next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by, or check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out or online shopping, maybe even a little entertainment here and there, well, it's easy to lose track. But that's where Monarch Money comes in. They're your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, you realize just how much you spend on things that you don't really need to spend on, especially the food delivery. Well, guess what? Now I budget smarter and save more, and so can you. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA, and you get half off your first year. We'll be right back.
Kel'el Ware also spoke during Miami Heat exit interviews. He was asked, what is he going to work on in the offseason? He said, get stronger. Same thing he was working on last summer. Same thing he's working on this summer. Until he's strong enough, that's what he's going to keep working on, getting stronger. That's the answer.
Can we get an air horn here for the official start of Muscle Watch season?
Oh, okay. Let's go.
Getting stronger this offseason. Muscle Watch 2025. That's right. That's what happens when you weigh 180.
So he's listed at 230 And Jared Allen, who just put him in the net all playoffs, is listed at 245. I don't think it's a 15-pound difference.
It's just not.
It,
No, it's
I
not.
would probably say it's probably closer to a 25, 30-pound difference. And we're just talking about measurements right now. These players are also substantially stronger than Kel'el Ware, just in terms of muscle mass and all these things too. So, yeah, I mean that's it, right? And he just turned 21 years old. Like this is just what it's going to have to be, and it's very similar to Tyler Herro, right? There's players who come into the league who are a little smaller, and the first 3 or 4 years of their career is just piling on pounds, eating a bunch of food, eating a bunch of protein, a lot of protein shakes, a lot of Chick-fil-A, a lot of Chipotle, a lot of pasta. That's the thing. And for a guy like Ware, who's 7 feet tall, it's just like it's a lot of frame to fill out. You know what I mean?
15,000 calorie days over the next couple of months, and it's a good place to be, I guess. If you're,
Sure.
for him to put, if you want to put on some more weight, because he has to. Like, I mean, we can, all jokes aside, like it's pretty clear. The footwork, I think, is obviously still a sticking point that he has to improve on.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter if you can move your feet well, if you're in position and you can just get blown away by a gentle breeze, which is basically what's his rookie season was like. He needs to be able to hold his position, to be able to use his strength against guys, because Jared Allen absolutely manhandled him, and we saw that a number of times over the course of the regular season too. And so if he wants to be a fixture in the team starting lineup, and not just that, but also a player that is there in crunch moments and can be counted on and play more than just the start of the first and third quarter, I think that absolutely has to be a part of his offseason regimen.
Yep, it'll help the rebounding, it'll help the shot blocking, it'll help all of that stuff. Bam also said that he had been begging Spo to play Ware earlier in the year.
Interesting, yeah.
And that he quote unquote impacts winning. That's cool. I think that's selfish by Bam. He just didn't want to play center, which I get. But that's a win for those of our listeners who claim that Ware should have been starting from the beginning of the year. But you and I have tended to agree that we think that they probably played it the right way.
That feels like taking a page out of the Anthony Davis, it's like, I'm not a center, play somebody else, anybody else at center, right? I mean,
right. Yep. Let's talk about Andrew Wiggins, who did not speak to media after exit interviews. By the way, neither did Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson, or Kevin Love. Kevin Love is still he's dealing with stuff and things like that. But look, these are all voluntary. I don't necessarily blame any of these players for skipping. There's no reason for them. Like, if we're going to blame Andrew Wiggins for skipping, are we going to blame Duncan Robinson for skipping? Duncan Robinson's a media hero in Miami. He's always available. He decided one time he didn't want to be available. Big deal. So I'm not worried about it. But at the same time, we didn't get a chance to really talk to him about how he felt about his couple of months in Miami. And I think it's fair to say that it was disappointing. He came in as the centerpiece of the Jimmy Butler trade, a Jimmy Butler trade that Pat Riley didn't want to make and was forced to make, granted, right?
Yeah.
But Wiggins came in as a centerpiece nonetheless. And he never really felt like he was part of it. And I know that's a feeling thing, but it's a feeling thing I think a lot of Heat fans and observers share. And probably a big part of that is just the lack of availability, right? He had the injuries toward the end of the regular season. But even in the playoffs, when he was ostensibly healthy, he averaged 11 points on 37% shooting, was a complete no-show. And that doesn't tilt the scales. It doesn't mean that they beat the Cavaliers in the series, but maybe they do win a game. Maybe they don't get swept. And it's worth pointing all this out to just say, what is Wiggins' future in Miami? So, David, were you disappointed with the Wiggins experience, as brief as it was? And what do you think they should, how do you think they should handle it going forward?
Yeah, I think undoubtedly it was a disappointing one, and there's no other way to look at it. And I know it wasn't entirely his fault. If injuries take place, they take place, and they're going to sap you of your efficiency. At the same time, the games in which he was healthy, minimal impact on more than one occasion there. He had some decent games, and the expectations might have been too high. And I think it's the hope. Again, we just had this conversation about Tyler Herro. Like, there are some guys who want to be the number one player and can't be, and I think Tyler might fit into that category. And there are some guys who are expected to be the number one player and aren't. And I think Andrew Wiggins falls into that second category. Like he just isn't. He doesn't want that. He wants to be this. On a planet of 7.5 billion people. Like he's still a damn good basketball player, even if you think they suck. They're still good basketball players. So you have to use that as a proper frame of reference. But within the context of an NBA roster, Andrew does not want to be a star, and I don't think he has the capacity to be a star. Like there are going to be star moments. He can be a perfectly complementary player. And the expectation when he was acquired here in place of a guy who was the star on this team was that he could fill in those shoes. And clearly that was not the case. So as far as his future is concerned, I don't think there is one. But I also don't know what his value is like around the team, knowing that the book is fully out. And you better have a superstar on your team before you try to acquire a guy like Andrew Wiggins, because in that sense, he could be really helpful in championship pursuit. But if they've got LeBron, they've got Luka Doncic, could they use a guy like Andrew Wiggins who has the experience and is able to play alongside superstars with superstar egos? Absolutely. I don't know if you can make the same case for Miami. They don't have that on the roster.
No, and I, there's a contingent of Heat fans who think that he doesn't even want to be here, and that's why he is struggling.
What's the argument for why he doesn't want to be here?
Well, we're going to talk about that after this. So there's a contingent of Heat fans that don't think that Wiggins even wants to be here in Miami. And you asked what the argument for that is. What's the reasoning? I think these are people who have never really been tuned into Andrew Wiggins that are saying this. This is who Wiggins, you already said it. The book is out on Andrew Wiggins. We know what he is. He was Maple Jordan in high school. He's got all the talent in the world, and it just doesn't materialize into something that you would expect out of a former number one overall pick, right? He's 6'8", runs like a gazelle, can jump through the building, but it just never really comes together. And I think, I covered him briefly in Golden State. I covered him briefly in Miami. And I could tell you, doing the work on him, this has just been the thing. Even going to high school, he would have bad games, get challenged, have a good game. Have bad games, get challenged, have a good game. Kansas, same thing. Minnesota, same thing. We know how Jimmy Butler felt about the situation in Minnesota. Even in Golden State. But I will say this. It was similar. He got the Warriors traded D'Angelo Russell for Wiggins halfway through the season, and Wiggins plays a few games. He gets shut down because the whole league got shut down for COVID that year, but it was a little off kilter and weird, just like this one was, where he gets traded to Miami and then deals with some injuries, and it's just weird. But then he comes back to Golden State the next year, and he's the second best player on a finals team, third best player on a finals team, wherever you want to put him. He was a super important part of that Warriors team that won the 2022 championship. So maybe this is just a situation of Wiggins has to settle in. And he strikes me as somebody who does need to settle in, right? And I do think it's worth pointing out two things. He had his baby girl right before the trade happened.
Oh, yeah.
And if he was kind of bummed out about that, about having to get traded from the Bay Area to Miami right on the heels of the birth of his child, cut him some slack, I guess. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if he's bummed out, I guess I understand it. I definitely understand it. So there's that. And I remember talking to him in the locker room about it, and it was the first thing that he brought up. He was like, I was like, hey, man, I covered you in Golden State. Like, how you doing? He's like, yeah, it's a lot, and I miss my girls and all this stuff. So, like, I get it. Here's the other thing. He hates cities. There's a reason he went to Kansas. He doesn't like cities. When he played for the Warriors, he did not live in San Francisco. He did not live in Oakland. He went straight to the suburbs. I don't know where he's living right now in South Florida, but I could bet you it's not in downtown Miami. And I think he doesn't like cities. If it were up to him, he'd probably be playing in Green Bay, Wisconsin or something. I don't know. But I think that's also part of it. That said, I don't think that means he doesn't want to be in Miami. I think he's happy to just be an NBA player, get the paycheck, and do the work. I think that's the case. He's just he's kind of an odd cat, dude. Like I don't really know how else to put it. So all of that said, definitely disappointing. He had to be better. And the Heat will need him to be better if he's a part of this roster going forward. There is absolutely no question. He has to be better than what he was. But this is the Andrew Wiggins experience. So to your point, David, if you expect something more, good luck. He actually averaged 19 points per game for Miami in the regular season, which was more than he was averaging in Golden State before the trade. Like, you kind of look up and you're like, oh, I didn't realize Wiggins had 20 points tonight. That's sort of the Wiggins experience. So people who are disappointed, I just think they haven't really been locked in on the Andrew Wiggins story throughout his career. So that's what that is. In terms of his path forward, maybe he's part of Miami. I would assume any star trade, he's probably part of that. The other thing about Andrew Wiggins, he's really easy to talk yourself into if you're the team getting him. 6'8" wing, can play both ways, can just kind of fit into any lineup. And there's value for those kinds of players in the league. And it's not like Wiggins under this new CBA he's not making $50 million. He's not making an exorbitant amount. It's not crazy to be like, yeah, this guy could be our third or fourth player. You know, it's not crazy.
Would you include him in a trade for Kevin Durant?
Yes. And I think Phoenix would be like, yeah, we kind of need Wiggins. We just need to fill that position, you know?
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't be the first time that Wiggins replaces Kevin Durant in his career.
Oh, that's right. There's something to that there. Before we continue, I know we've got a couple other talking points. I just want to make a quick shout out to a couple fans that I spoke to yesterday. I know we were going to talk about that. Yeah, I was at Lincoln's Beard Brewery where we held our first watch party ever. Right. And I had a couple guys come up to me and at different times and say, hey, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. And then you know what? And they were great to talk to. What really strikes me is, well, let me say, first of all, shout out to Herman and Brandon for pointing out or talking to me. And another thing that really impresses me is that just how intelligent and knowledgeable about basketball our listener base is. It's
how much did you have to drink
on the planet?
I'm kidding.
YouTube commenters notwithstanding, and we love you guys anyway. We love you folks, all of you. But yeah, no, they had like really interesting takes on the future of this team and the value of players and what superstar you try to acquire and everything else like that. They've got their finger on the pulse, that's for sure.
Okay.
So shout out to our listeners and specifically the two I talked to yesterday.
Shout out to our listeners, absolutely, and thank you for riding with us all season long. A reminder, we are not going away, still 5 days a week, and maybe some bonus episodes throughout. But where would your new friends have landed on the Locked On Heat poll? We polled our listeners, what path should the Heat take this offseason? Should they go all in and add a star? Just gap year it. Wait for 2026. We know about that free agency. We know the fact that Miami will still have a lot of cap space in 2026. They can go chase Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, Trae Young potentially as free agents that year. Or just tear it down, full rebuild. 49% of the audience said tear it down, full rebuild. 13% said gap year, not surprising. Fans don't like gap years. 38% said go ahead and add the star. Where would your friends have landed on that based on your conversations with them? And are you surprised by the poll results here?
1 and 1. One for the gap year would not have been an option, but one would have been definitely to acquire the superstar, and one would have been to go ahead and blow it up. No, I'm not surprised. It's kind of the way that the team has worked, and I think it's just also NBA fandom in general, where it's a very transactional league, you know. So it's like the idea of a gap year. What does that even mean? It's like you're not going to do anything for a year. It's kind of been the unintentional, you know, modus operandi of this front office for the last few seasons. Again, they tried to make changes, it just didn't work out that way, and I think that's why it's not really seen as a viable option. But if you had your choice of either adding a star, it's like, yeah, well, I could see that could help. You know, maybe you're finally good enough. Although again, I don't know what the realistic path to acquire that superstar is. And then the other option of blowing it up, well, I guess that seems like a good option too if you're looking to just start over. But as I said yesterday, I think it'll probably be somewhere in between. I think it'll be somewhere in between acquiring.
You think it will be the gap year?
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know. A gap year, maybe not exactly a gap year, but I think they're going to try to make some changes, and they're going to make some changes around the edges because I just don't see that path to acquiring a superstar. Nor, as we said yesterday, based on the comments from everybody, does this franchise and its 2-star players seem satisfied with the idea of like, yeah, we'll go ahead and just sit out our season and then see what happens. We'll rebuild. I mean, or blow it up. Like any blowing it up would include probably trade at least one of those 2 players. So
I assume when I put full rebuild in the poll, people know that means trade Bam and Tyler. Like that's just trade all the assets. That's what rebuild means. And I'm assuming people, I don't know. I'm a little surprised by I thought it would have been 48%, 49% add the star, 38% rebuild, but people are sick of this core. And by the way, I understand that. Like if you look at it and you say, hey, does adding Kevin Durant to Bam and Tyler Herro potentially, does that get us on the level of Cleveland or Boston? If you don't think so, I don't know that I can't blame you for thinking that. Yeah. Right? Does that get us on the path to beat Oklahoma City or Minnesota or maybe a revamped Lakers team next year in the NBA Finals if we were fortunate to make it that far? This team is far away. So if fans have concluded rebuild is the only option, I can't blame them for that. I don't know. I don't even know that it's wrong. No. I guess I'm just a little surprised that this Heat fan base that has been so conditioned not to rebuild, it kind of feels like a revolt a little bit. Like, you won't let us rebuild, but we want to kind of thing. This also might just be a completely online fan base. And so a lot of people listening could have just been like, or people online voters to this poll rather, and people listening just might be like, I don't want to rebuild.
I think there's also like some really short-sighted views of looking at things or way of looking at things. If you're contemplating a rebuild, like what is that? What do you think that entails? You're going to be a really crappy ass team for a while. And I think everybody's pointing to Oklahoma City as the path to get there. It's like, yeah, but you have Oklahoma City and you had to trade a couple of really good players in order to make those kinds of deals. Like there is no player on that option in order for those things to turn out. And Sam Presti did a phenomenal and unrealistically a phenomenal job of amassing all of those picks and being able to draft the players that they did and getting really lucky. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a steal. And I don't think anybody realizes how much of a steal he was. Like when he was acquired by Oklahoma City, I don't think anybody thought that he was going to be
nobody thought he would be maybe the MVP of the league. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Certainly not an MVP.
No, I think All-Star was definitely in his wheelhouse after that rookie year. He was sensational. But MVP, no, nobody saw that coming. But to your point, they made that deal in 2019. The Thunder did. And it took them up until, and there was, they were on an upward trajectory the whole time, but it wasn't until last year that they actually looked like a contender. So 2019 to 2024, about 5 years. You look at the Houston Rockets and the rebuild that they had under after James Harden. And again, about 5 years. Upward trajectory all along, credit to them. But about 5 years between losing a bunch of games right after Harden got traded to winning a bunch of games this year, right? They didn't make the playoffs last year. They made the playoffs for the first time since Harden got traded this year. So when you say that fans don't understand what that full rebuild entails, I would say a smart front office, which the Heat are a smart front office. I would say if you just took it down to no parts, you just traded Bam, traded Tyler Herro, traded all of it, I think it would probably be 4 or 5 years before this team, and it's the East, so maybe you could sneak in back into the play-in tournament or something like that. But until they're a serious basketball team, probably about a half decade. That's what it is. And if you're a fan and you can live with that, and you could just say, "Hey, I'm good. Let's just draft some players. We can have some fun developing them." Like, go ahead, man. Like that's not the worst thing. I'm not saying that it's ridiculous. I'm just saying the expectation should be 5 years. That's what it takes. And I don't know that Riley at 80 years old wants to do that. And that's kind of the sticking point here. And as we talked about on yesterday's show, David, I don't know that the Heat have any interest in doing it, at least not voluntarily. And so I think that's where we're at. I think that they would prefer add the All-Star. And if you can't do that, then you have some maybe more serious conversations up in that front office. But plenty more to cover during this offseason. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night until an NBA champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts.